Hello, hello. My name is Nicholas Rivas, and I talk about politics and stuff. And today we're going to be talking about a more subjective topic. Um, Having friends within politics or your friendships dependent on politics. Uh, where does the line get drawn of, we just have political disagreements versus, I can't be friends with you. You're being bigoted or you're being you're infringing on my rights when you vote for X, Y, and Z. So why would I be friends with you? I think it's a topic that many feel uncomfortable with, and I think it's very dismissive to just say, like, hey, let's just not talk about politics. I think in the cases of, like, tax policy, right, you can argue and still be friends with, but, like, if someone tells you you can't marry so-and-so, how can I be friends with you? Like, I can't see that just being a disagreement. That's like saying that your wife, whoever, your partner is, I don't like them. And like, why like in a world where someone said that about your partner, like, why would you not, be offended and cut that person out of your life? But in politics, well, like, hey, it's just my religion. I disagree with it. It's just immoral to me. It's usually written off as, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I guess you're unreasonable if you get mad at someone for disregarding your relationship like that or undermining you as a person. Because imagine being like, I'm just anti-gay marriage. It's not just you can't date someone. It's also you as a person are erased in their mind as a person. How is that not something that we would, in other situations, deem as like that's a friendship ender right there, I think it's very easy to feel uncomfortable because, I mean, these are topics that we've been fighting for centuries. Religion, sex, gender, wealth, all of these topics aren't, taken lightly. We would have had a solution if they were that easy to be understood. So I'm not trying to dumb down the, the crazy topics that they are, but I think it's very dumb to say, let's just be friends and not talk about it. Because I think, like, if there was like a bill tomorrow that said I need to ban all men, people would be like, that's crazy. You're being horrific. You're being non-feasible and radical. We would look at that person like they're crazy, right? And so imagine if, like, I supported that by not calling that out, I guess. Like, I'm not saying that silence is admission, but sometimes it could be. And I'm just curious on where people draw the line at, because if there was like a bill to eliminate all babies, just this crazy radical bill, and you voted for a guy who supports that, don't you support that? Like, where does your support start and stop? I only voted for him because he said he was going to lower taxes. Okay, fair. But then this guy also has this, like, if Hitler ran and you're like, well, I really like his tax policy. Can I be friends? You supported a genocidal monster, right? Like, that's not an unreasonable thing to object to, right? As a friendship, as a partner. And of course, no one's forcing people to be friends. If you want to cut out people, cut out people. I think it's the reaction to that where people go, wow, so-and-so cut me off because, we just had a few disagreements. But I think the way to just dumb it down and say, like, it's just a disagreement is what's the disastrous part of this whole topic, is that these aren't just disagreements. These are my livelihood. These are who I am. They're not just me being a snowflake and saying, like, you offended me, and leaving it at that. No, you offended me because you try to take my rights away. Like, you can't just sit there and go, they're my rights, but, hey, let's just call it an even Stevens day and move on. Like, no, I can't move on. You've inadvertently fucked over my life and directly fucked over my life. If, say, you voted for a candidate and that was like their main message, you knew what they were gonna do to me. Like, if it was a gay marriage thing, you fucked me over. How am I supposed to be your friend after that? I think, for one, we need to understand who we're voting for and what we're voting for and why people were voting for such things. Because I think you could argue that in 2016, people voted for Trump as a way to get through Hillary, the Democratic establishment. But I think when 2020 came, you were like, hey, this guy did a Muslim ban. This guy did a veto of Roe v. Wade inadvertently with his Supreme Court picks. Like, where do we draw the line and say, look, dog, you're fucking with my rights now, right? I think it's a very easy topic to become offended over, and it's subjective. I don't blame you if I say tax policy is just a disagreement we can have, because to some people that's a institutional racist system that I'm perpetuating by just calling it a disagreement, you know? So I can't see a world where we agree on everything, or even just in this topic of we agree that this is not a topic that we can just be friends on. We have to agree on this and this isn't. I don't know where that line's drawn for a lot of people. For me, it's definitely more social. You know, the less economic reasons for people to have disagreements is not a thing you can just pass by me. Like, fuck that. Like, if you want to infringe upon my rights, fuck you. Like, I don't like you. Doesn't mean we can't be buddies, but I'm gonna make it vocal that I disdain what what you say and what you do is gonna leave a mark on me, and I can't see a future where we continue to be friends. I had a friend who we would argue on a plethora of things, tax policy, gun rights, but he posted a video one day of him saying some racist shit, right? And I was like, well, that's a little sus, but it was under the guise of like, oh, immigration is we got to get tighter with it. So it's understand. You just go like, hey, that's a fair policy, right? We need to have a better vetting process of immigration. Fine. When you put it that way, it's hard to see that as like a inherently racist, mantra. But then he literally in the span of an hour, he posted a video of this church we have, or a mosque we have here in Arizona, that was destroyed by a person who I guess is like racist against like Muslim phobic, I guess, Islamophobic. This church was destroyed by a guy who was saying that the mosque was terrorist and he destroyed their church and he's a piece of shit racist, straight up racist asshole. But my friend reposted that video and said, this is what we need to do. Like, dog, your policies was based in some reality of like, I want to have conservatism when it comes to some sort of immigration policy, and then it turned to just straight up bigotry, just straight up racism, just straight up I want these fucking people dead. And when we're at that point, you're a piece of shit. This is not a disagreement. This is like you are. I mean, just imagine, like, apply that to like literally any other topic in any of our history and world. Imagine people were like, look, I'm not against the Jewish people, but what Hitler's doing is right. His policy is, it's working. Like, that's when I go, like, that's not disagreements. You want me to fucking die. You want to kill people. Imagine saying that to, like, a person in Yemen where it's like, Lockheed Martin's giving us a lot of money. This is a pretty good tax policy and economic reform. And it's like, yeah, but my house was destroyed and leveled. But we just disagree. Like, come on, my guy. Like, we can't just disagree on everything. There has to be these topics where we're infringing on human rights. We know it's an infringement. And if you agree with it, then fine, you agree with it. But you're a fucking bigot. And I think that's what people are scared of. They don't want to be labeled as a bigot. They don't want to address their bigotry. Because it's a hard pill to swallow. But don't act like I'm fucking crazy. Like if people were just straight up and said like, look, man, I just don't think Muslims should be in this country. Fuck them. Like, I'd be like, all right, yeah, at least he's honest. But it's this like mask of, it's just a disagreement. Mexicans shouldn't be here because economic hurty. Fine, let's do that. But then when people like are dying on the border and you say, well, what do you want us to do to the economy? Like, how do I take you seriously at that point? And I don't think I can. And I think you're lying to yourself, or at the very least, you're lying to me. You want to get your policy through, and you don't want it to be labeled as correctly as it should be, as a bigoted policy, which is fine. Fine, it's a smart strategic strategy, but I'm gonna call it what it is. A spade's a spade, a cat's a cat, a cow goes meow, whatever the fuck the saying is. I'm not gonna hide my true belief of it being masked under bigotry just because it hurts your fifis. If you are a bigot, fucking admit it. Like, don't. Hey, that kind of rhymes. Don't hit me with some bullshit that it's just it's for the economy, or we're just disagreeing. That's how these topics have prolonged for so long, and how we as a society can't address things. Like, I always have this weird line when I'm at work or school or within friends and family where they say, hey, no politics at the table. But what is politics? Like, what is politics to you is just my life for me. Like, I just don't get this stigma that we have against quote unquote politics, because I think in many cases, yeah, it could ruin friends, like religion, but religion isn't being forced upon, or my politics aren't being forced upon you. They're being taken away from me. That's how it should be looked at. I'm not trying to force my politics on you. You're just taking my politics away. And I think that's a fair critique of society as a whole, like why we're so dismissive of talking about quote unquote politics, because it's kind of worked. You know, you don't talk about the gay problem in society because someone might be gay, and then if you just kind of guys over it, you're good. You know, like we don't have to worry about facing the problem at hand. And for those in the elites who run the world, who want to have this authoritarian regime, it works for them as well because we're not talking about it. I think the minute we start talking about it is when the Congress elites and the bigot fuckers realize that, oh shit, like we're in the wrong, you know? I think it's like when the people don't, like when bosses don't want you to talk about your pay, that's how they, you know, avert getting people paid fairly, because they know no one's knowing their pay and they think in their realm, I'm getting paid enough. So I think the more we talk about it, the better world we could, you know, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a better world we could create. I think I've rambled enough. Thank you so much. New videos every other day. Yabba dabba doo and cockatoo.